How we doing? What is today? Wednesday? What is it? Let me check. Is it Wednesday or Tuesday? It's Wednesday. Welcome to another wonderful Wednesday. How's everybody's day going? Mine's going great. No complaints here. Sorry if you can hear the lawnmower in the background. It's my neighbor. She's like probably 80, and she's out riding on her riding lawnmower, smoking a cigarette. Oh my gosh, it's quite the sight to see. It is quite the sight. Very interesting neighbor, but she's cool. How's everybody going? What's going on, Radasan? Hello, gentlemen of culture. Thank you. How we doing, Instagram? Let's see who we have hopping in over here. Emma Treve, Smoked Dousty, welcome. The Way to A. Ultra Duke, what's going on? Cherry, what's up, buddy? Kai 909, do I need a computer science degree? Absolutely not. You do not need a computer science degree. I'm going to assume maybe you're asking, do you need a computer science degree to get a job or freelance? Nope. If you can code, there are people who will pay you for those skills. All right. Well, welcome everybody. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Jason. I'm a full stack engineer here at DevSlopes. I work on a lot of cool projects. I love coding stuff. I especially like doing back-end work and working with APIs. I'm also the DevSlopes Web Academy instructor, coach, and mentor. So I work with students all day. I help teach them how to code, and I do code reviews. So I review their code to make sure they're following good practices and giving them feedback and everything like that. And then I help them take those skills, everything they've worked so hard for, and teach them how to reap the benefits from those and how to get jobs and how to get paid, how to land freelance work, things like that. So if you are looking to learn how to code or you need some guidance, assistance, some accountability, go to devslopes.com/apply. Just set up a free call with one of our career coaches and ask them a bunch of questions. See if the DevSlopes Academy is even for you. So yeah, let's dive into some questions. I also wanted to touch base on a topic today, 3 tips to get better at programming. This is something that, I'm asked almost daily. I have students in the academy, ask me like, how can I get better as a programmer? Like, what other things can I be doing? And so I really have, 3 tips. I'm a self-taught developer myself. So I've, been around the block, and long story short, I ended up working at Dell Computers as a full stack engineer, self-taught, no computer science degree or anything. So completely possible to get jobs in freelance work without a computer science degree. So let's go over some of these tips. These are things that I've come up with, things that I've experienced. And if you have other ideas or comments about that, drop it in the comments below. So the first thing that I would do, especially for a beginner developer, is to build projects. All right. And that means stop watching tutorials. All right. You need to watch tutorials up to a point to get some of the base concepts and everything down, to learn different principles and things, and, experiment creating a few basic projects. But if you really want to get better at programming, it really comes down to learning how to solve problems, how to take complex solutions or larger problems and condense those down into smaller, solvable solutions. So building your own projects or getting ideas from online and then building those projects from a standpoint where you're not following a tutorial, where you have to figure it out on your own, that's going to help train your brain to problem solve. And that is so critical as a developer. All right. You've got to learn how to problem solve and to come up with solutions. Tutorials are not going to teach you that. They're just a follow along. They're good in the beginning, but you've got to cut ties and you've got to move on. Earlier, the better. All right. Earlier, the better. The second thing that I'd recommend is coding challenges. All right. And sometimes this happened to me at Dell Computers when I was a full stack engineer over there. Is I'm working with our project source code, right? And there's a certain thing that we're accomplishing with this software that we were building. And it's just kind of repetitive in a sense, like this is the only type of things that I'm solving. And if you want to become a better programmer, I felt my skills as a developer kind of start to plateau. But one thing that will help with that is solving coding challenges. All right. So there's like Code Wars, there's Project Euler. DevSlopes has a coding challenge. If you go to 30daycodechallenge.com, you'll see our 30-day code challenge. All right. And we've got that for JavaScript and Swift. And so coding challenges will help force your brain to think in new creative ways. So you don't get stuck doing kind of the same mundane thing, solving the same type of problems. All right. It helps you creatively solve things. And then the last thing that I would recommend is check out open source projects. Check out the source code of different repositories. One thing that I like to do is sometimes instead of installing so I'm a web developer, instead of downloading like an NPM package and bloating the project with all these tools and features from an NPM package that I need, a lot of the times I'll just go dig through the source code and then, kind of comb through it and then just pick out the pieces of exactly what I need. That way I don't have to install the entire library into my project. And so reading source code, like other people's code, and seeing the way that they solve problems and the way that they structured their code has also been something that has really helped me get better at programming. All right. So those are my 3 tips to you. Build your own projects. Stop doing tutorials. What was the other one? Do coding challenges. Okay. DevSlopes has coding challenges. Go to 30daycodechallenge.com and there's code challenge for JavaScript and Swift. And then the last one is review other people's source code. There's a bunch of open source projects. You can go comb through the source code and learn how other developers are writing code. All right. It'll give you some really good insight about that stuff. So that's what I have to say about that. If you have questions about that, leave some comments below. I'm going to start with YouTube. We're going to go through, answer some questions. Then Instagram, I'll hop over here, give you some love, and answer some questions from y'all. All right, let's see what we have here in YouTube. Oh, good. Radasan says he can't hear the lawnmower. I should have pointed the camera out the window and showed you the old lady mowing. She was a sight to see for sure. For those of you who didn't catch on to that in the beginning, my neighbor's like 80 years old. She's smoking a cigarette and riding a riding lawnmower. It was totally awesome. Totally awesome. And she's got a really thick Southern Texan accent. So that makes it even cooler. All right. Let's see. Hi, didn't you answer this question yesterday, or am I getting deja vu? What question did I answer yesterday? I don't know what we answered yesterday. I forgot yesterday. Hello from Kenya and Brazil. Welcome, Duncan and Gabriel. Radasan wants me to get nearer to the lawnmower. Let's see. Are you still working at a tech company? Yeah, Simon does stuff. I am working at DevSlopes. I mean, we're building our own software and tools. So for an example, I built the DevSlopes website from, the ground up. It's done in React and TypeScript. And then we're using Next.js. It's a static site generator. It helps out with SEO. And then I'm writing a lot of server-side code for Facebook conversion tracking, because when iOS 14 came out, they blocked the Facebook pixel that was used for all this analytic and conversion tracking, which helps with our marketing team. And so iOS 14 really messed that up. So now I have to manually go in, write custom event listeners and everything for certain events, and then ping the Facebook conversion API. So I'm doing server-side code with that, and then a lot of other integrations for our sales teams, and then some other internal applications that we're building specifically for DevSlopes. So I work on that. And then I'm the DevSlopes Web Academy coach, mentor, and instructor. So I work with students all day teaching them how to code. I'm a self-taught developer myself. I know the struggle and the pain is real. So I really enjoy helping others learn how to code and become successful with it. Let's see. Jonathan asks, I like the hacking libraries. Yeah. Eric says tutorial hell, as they call it, is a real thing for sure. Absolutely. Yep. Tutorial hell. That's what they call it when you are just doing tutorials endlessly. And I got stuck in the same rut when I was learning to code because as a self-taught developer, I didn't have guidance or direction. I didn't have developer friends to ask questions to. I started learning to code like 6 years ago. And so there was a much smaller community of people like learning to code from like online and such. So it sucked. I questioned my decision. Like, why did you get into programming? Like, this is hard. But, you know, I plowed through it and I made it. I made it. Simon says, hey, I tried to learn C++, but it's really hard. I tried to learn Python as well. But again, I don't know how to learn how to make programs or anything else. Simon, I totally understand how you feel. So first off, C++ is probably one of the most complex programming languages. It has a insanely steep learning curve. All right. I do not recommend for beginners to learn C++. Python is a great beginner programming language. It has a really nice syntax to it, and it has a broad kind of general purpose of what you can use it for. But the thing that you should do first before you start trying to learn these different programming languages, Simon, is decide what it is you want to do with programming. So for an example, C++ is great for embedded systems and programming systems. Things like, you know, cars, robotics, mechanical things, and then you can do it for AAA games like Call of Duty, all the Blizzard games like World of Warcraft. One of the underlying programming languages is C++, so it's used in game development. But C++ is for programs that need insanely high performance. All right, when performance is key, like Call of Duty, it has to make split-second decisions on the fly. When performance is incredibly important, C++ is a great choice. Everything else, 90% of everything else, it's probably overkill. You don't need C++. So, and then Python is great. You can use it for web development, game development. It has a very broad general purpose to it. So machine learning, AI, things like that. So decide what it is you want to do with programming, whether that be web development, iOS, Android apps, and whatnot. Jonathan, we are good. Where are good places to learn advanced coding, like making drivers and wireless APIs? That's a fantastic question. I don't know. But that is a very good question to Google. Noah says hi. Hello, Noah. Okay, so your question, Simon, is how to start. How should I start after I'm done with basics? I know the basics, but I don't know how to apply these basics. Oh, in making a program. I got you. So you should Google like beginner projects for Python or C++, whatever it is that you've learned. And then now that you're kind of out of the tutorial stage, start building projects with it and just Google some ideas. A lot of people, they like building clones, like a Slack clone or a Twitter clone, or like the Uber app clone. You can do it with some of those programming languages or a game. Hacking Unity game deals with C# forces you to really start thinking critically. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Instagram. Let's get to some of these questions over here. How y'all doing? All right, where are we at here? So Ultra Duke says that he has a good job for me. Well, I've got a job and I thoroughly enjoy what I do, but you can drop it in the comments for fun, whatever the heck it is. SaaS or styled components? That's a great question. It really depends on the opinion and the requirements of the project. So like when you're working on a development team, usually like the different types of libraries or tools that you're using, it's kind of up to the project architect, and it's their decision. Like, you have to consider the scalability and usability, and how familiar, what type of learning curve is there to the technology that developers are going to have to learn. Me personally, I've always used Sass. I know styled components is so popular. I've just never cared for it. I don't know. I like Sass because of, you can use like Sass functions and everything, and there's more code things that you can do with Sass. But styled components is great. I just prefer Sass. Mario, talk about age issue for someone who's 42, please. You know what? There's really no age issue. So we've got people in the DevSlopes Academy. I think our youngest student is as old as 15. And then our oldest student is 55. And he's in our iOS Academy. And he actually got a job a couple of months ago. And he's 55. So there's plenty of work to be done. In the end, all a company wants is somebody who can code and pump out results. So if you can do that, like age, it doesn't really matter. I did a career change into programming way late in the game. I was like in my mid-20s, and I had like almost 9 years or something experience in regional sales. And I did a complete career change. I got into programming, self-taught, and it was rough. It was hard, but I was able to do it. But yeah, don't worry about your age. If you want to code, you should get into it immediately. And for those of you listening, if you're new to programming, you want some guidance, accountability, the fast track, you're serious about getting a job or doing freelance work, go to devslopes.com/apply. I'm one of the coaches and mentor. I would be honored to personally work with you and help you learn how to code and then help you get paid work. Can I learn React in 90 days? Yeah, Sherry, I would say you definitely can. Why not? So, I mean, you're going to want to know the basics first. There's stepping stones, learn your HTML, CSS, and then JavaScript. All right. And then React is a very good next step because React uses JavaScript in a way that you're already familiar with. It has a really nice syntax to it. So that's what we do at the DevSlopes Academy. We get the basics out of the way, HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Then we dive into React, and we go deep into React. And then we learn all the backend technologies like Node, Express, Mongo, and then how to deploy our projects. All right, what other questions do we have? What's up, George from Peru? How are you? Thanks for joining. All right, they love Jeremiah. All right, what type of projects you can work on as soon to be a machine learning engineer? You know what? I've never dived into machine learning or any of that AI stuff. There's, oh my gosh, our iOS Academy or one of our courses, something we did back in the day, has some machine learning. I'm trying to think of the app ideas. I would Google it. What, like machine learning projects for beginners, and then see what ideas come up. What should I focus on more in React to get better at it? So, okay. So here's something. So I'm super passionate about React. All right. And I got good at React, but one of the things that really helped change the game for me, and this sounds boring, but read the documentation. And I mean all of it. Go to reactjs.org and read the documentation, because since it's coming from React's website, right, they're going to inform you on all the standard and best practices and how everything should be used. And then that way, when you start doing additional research, like finding more advanced React articles or tutorials online, that way you can decipher between, all right, this is opinion and this is best practices. And it's not like opinions are always bad or they're bad practices, but it's important to know the difference between this is what React best practices are, and then this is kind of an opinion in some other developer style. But I would start with React documentation and then dive into some React advanced practices. I took a course once. I'm trying to remember the name of it. It was Advanced React something, but it was really good. I apologize. I don't know the name of it at all. But in the DevSlopes Academy, I do take React. So I teach React. I teach about all the React hooks and everything, and we dive really deep into it. And I show you some really advanced practices of how to use React. So I was a full stack engineer at Dell, and we had a bunch of senior developers, people who have been using React for forever. And I mentored with them, and I learned a lot about advanced React architecture and such. And so I dive into some of those principles in our Web Academy, and we even go into depth of building a Slack clone, like the Slack app, those chatting apps. We dive into building one of those in React, and we use sockets for listening for when the person's typing messages, creating channels, and things like that. So you can also check out the DevSlopes Academy. Go to devslopes.com/apply, and that's going to be in the Web Academy. What's the bare minimum to get an internship in web development? I would say once you're proficient with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So, and especially JavaScript, all right? JavaScript is where the bread and the butter is. There's no company that I can think of that is going to hire someone that just does HTML and CSS. Like, you've got to be proficient in JavaScript. So once you can write code that does stuff, that can think and runs logic, then I would say, yeah, you should start checking out some internships. Funny story about me. One of the internships I got, so after I think 2 months of learning to code, I was trying to get an internship somewhere so I could kind of get my foot in the door and learn some of the ropes and whatnot. I got an internship with the company, and they fired me after 5 days because I was too loud. So remember, I come from a background of sales, so I've got like this personality and I'm outspoken and stuff, but I guess I was just too loud and a distraction to everybody around me. I would mumble under my breath like what I was doing and stuff. I just talked too much and was a distraction, and they fired me after 5 days. But it's okay. I was not a good culture fit for their team. Like, I just didn't fit in with their culture. I was too loud. So funny story about that. All right, how much time do we have? We have 6 minutes. YouTube, I'm going to get over to some of your questions here in a moment. I'm just going to wrap up some questions from Instagram here. We'll see if we have enough time to answer everything. Let's see. Do you have to understand full stack if we want to be web development? Yes, you do. You really do. You have to understand full stack. So really the way the industry is shifting. Now, when I say full stack, all right, you don't have to be an expert at back-end work, but for like a front-end developer, for an example, it is expected of you to be able to work with APIs and to hit different API endpoints and grab that data and then inject it into the UI. All right, so you need a working knowledge of how the backend works and how APIs work so you can work with the data that the backend developer has built. All right, so you can use that data into the UI. All right. I wanted to learn about web development, but don't find a path. So web development. So here's your path with web development, okay? Adarsh, first you're going to learn HTML and CSS. Spend maybe 4 to 5 weeks in HTML, CSS, get the basics down. Then you're going to dive into JavaScript. JavaScript is probably the hardest part of learning how to code, like web development, for an example. You're going to spend, this could be a couple of months, all right? Or sooner. It depends on how fast the person is able to learn. But I would plan on a good 3 months in JavaScript, 3 to 9 months even, 3 to 9 months to become proficient in JavaScript. But then after 3 months in JavaScript, then you can move into a library, a UI library like React. And I recommend React because it uses JavaScript in a way that you're already familiar with. And it's a fantastic next step for people who are learning how to code. All right. So that is the learning path that I would do. And then once you've kind of been in that realm for like 6 months, start diving into like Node. Node allows you to write server-side code or JavaScript on the server. So that way you can be a full stack developer and you don't have to learn a new programming language. All right. You already know JavaScript. So now you can write all your backend stuff in JavaScript and use like Express and MongoDB, all right, for the database. So that's what I'd recommend if you want, help with that. I'm the DevSlopes Web Academy instructor. I'd be stoked to work with you one-on-one. Go to devslopes.com/apply and then, get set up with a call, ask whatever questions you want, see if the academy is a good fit for you. And if it is, I'll work with you. I have to build an app with Flutter for my final year. Do you have any ideas? You could build a Slack clone app, a Twitter clone app. You could build really any full stack app. That's what I'd recommend. An Uber clone app. Yeah, that's my ideas. If anybody trying to learn anything about coding, I suggest paying for Udemy course. They love Jeremiah. Yeah, a Udemy course can work, but I also want to, throw this question out there. How many of you have purchased a Udemy course, and how many of you have actually even started or even finished it? Is it still sitting at like 3-5% done? That's usually how it goes with Udemy courses because they're cheap. People will just buy it and then kind of sit on it. Now, I mean, in the beginning, I took Udemy courses. There's nothing bad with Udemy, but what I'm saying is there's no accountability for being a self-taught developer, right? It's up to you and your own hustle and grind to get your butt moving, to learn how to code, to sit down at the computer every day and start slamming out code. All right. I've done it. It sucks. It's hard. It's hard to get motivated. All right. So if anybody wants guidance and accountability and wants someone to get them motivated, come work with me, DevSlopes Academy. But yeah, Udemy courses is a fine choice to get introduced to programming. It's just you got to do it. All right, holy cow, we have 2 minutes. I'm going to take some YouTube questions and we'll see what I can get through here. Let's see. Is data structures really necessary to get a job in big tech companies? I've been getting that question like every day for the last week. Is data structures really necessary? Like, yeah, you need to understand data structures. I wouldn't say you have to be some absolute expert, but the reason they're important to know is because you've got to understand like code architecture and what type of data structures you should be using to solve different problems. And data structures is one of those things that comes up a lot in tech interviews. Even if the project itself, it's not like you have to be a data structure wizard, all right? But they really hound you about it in the tech interview process. So yeah, it's important to know, but you don't, really just so you can get through the job interview process. But you'll learn data structures and have more, experience with them over time as you continue to code and to learn things. And that's one thing to keep in mind. Learning about coding, learning to code will never stop. I've been coding for 6 years now, and almost every single week or bi-weekly, I'm learning something new or writing new code that I've never done before in my life. That's one of the reasons why I love programming, is because it's always new. It never gets old. All right, I was over here at YouTube. Let's see, do companies sponsor for a working visa in US for hiring developers in iOS, Android, or web field? They might. I don't know the answer to that question. I apologize. Radasan says, of course. And Radasan also brings up a good point. Udemy courses might be good, but don't expect the best if you're paying for the cheapest. So that's another thing to pay attention to with Udemy courses. So DevSlopes used to make Udemy courses a bunch. We don't anymore. We haven't done them for years. Here's the thing about Udemy. It's a very, very competitive space. So what people do is they pack as much content as they can and say, oh my gosh, I've got 40 hours of content. But it's like, do you really need all that stuff? They are just stuffing the crap out of these Udemy courses just to say, hey, there's so much value here. But there are good instructors on Udemy for sure. But remember, they're content packed. It's not really a guided learning path. All right. And one thing that DevSlopes Academy prides themselves in is we teach you all the necessary skills to be successful in the job market or as a freelancer. We don't leave anything out. All right. We teach you everything so that you can be successful. So we cover all the bases, and it's a curated, guided learning path. All right. So we teach things in a very, very specific order for you to learn the right things at the right time and to be able to retain the knowledge. Is JavaScript or Python better? They both serve different purposes. They're both fantastic, and you can do web development with both of them. JavaScript is, probably the most popular for web development, but you can do web development with Python. It's just different. People have a lot of different opinions about them. Is it necessary to do competitive programming for cracking product-based companies? I have no idea. I don't know. All right, we're over time here. I'm going to look. That's all the questions from YouTube. I'll take one more from Instagram. Let's see who's the lucky user here. All right, I'm just going to answer this wide awake. My favorite kind of code to program is React. I am a React fanboy. Let's see. All right, let me see if there's kind of a general question that I can answer. What is your recommendation JavaScript for beginners? Oh, I don't have one, but I do have a book that I would recommend for any developer. It's called Clean Code by Martin something. It's a fantastic book and will change your mind about the way you code and look at programming. It'll be like Neo in the Matrix. All right, you're going to see everything in 0 and 1s and binary, and it's going to blow your mind. But yeah, it's called Clean Code, just by Martin C. something. Find it on Amazon. Man, I wish I had an affiliate link because I recommend his book to everybody and they buy it all the time. I should talk to the dude about getting an affiliate link. All right, everybody. That's all the questions that I have time to answer. Thank you so much for joining. Again, I'm Jason. I'm a full stack developer here at DevSlopes. I'm also the coding or Web Academy code mentor and teacher. I help people learn how to code. So if you're interested in getting some one-on-one coaching and mentorship, go to devslopes.com/apply. All right, check out our DevSlopes Academies for iOS, Android, and web. And then if you want to check out a really fun 30-day coding challenge, DevSlopes does that too for JavaScript and Swift. Go to 30daycodechallenge.com and get enrolled and signed up for the next one coming the first of next month. All right. Until next time, stay safe, stay positive, keep coding. I'll see you tomorrow.